Okay, cuff based salad. We may place a cooked dish in a pit in order that it be preserved, good water and stale water in order that it cool off, and cold water in the sun in order that it become warm. One whose garments fell into the water while traveling may continue to walk in them, and he not fear. When he arrives at the outer courtyard, he may spread them out in the sun, but not in front of people. One who bathes in the water of a cave or in the water of Tiberias and dries himself with even 10 towels may not carry them in his hand. But 10 people may dry themselves with one towel, their faces, their hands, their feet, and they may carry it in their hands. We may anoint and massage the stomach, but we may neither knead nor scrape the skin. We may not go down to Kardima, nor take a metic, or nor straighten an infant's limbs, nor set a fracture. If one's hand or foot became dislocated, he may not massage them with cold water, but he may bathe according in his usual manner, and if it is healed, he is healed. Okay,
Okay.
good.
Right. Shoel adam mechavero kadayain v'chadei shemen. So on Shabbos, a guy wants to he realizes that he's out of oil, he's out of wine, and he wants to go to his neighbor and say, "Listen, have you got some oil for me? Have you got some wine for me?" And his neighbor can say, "Sure, no problem. Here you go." But you've got to be careful about your lashon
Yeah.
because it says, "Shoel ubilvad shelo yomar lo halveini." Mustn't put it in terms of a loan. Because as soon as you put it in terms of a loan, then your immediate thing is like, oh, I've got a ledger over here of all of the people that I've loaned things to. Because now the difference between a loan and a lending is that um, loaning means that you don't expect the original item back. So you loan money to somebody. You're not expecting the same banknotes back. But like I lend you my car, I'm expecting the same car back. Okay.
Same condition. Right.
Yeah, if possible, yes. Okay. So now, um, although when you go to your neighbor and you borrow some sugar, they're not expecting the same sugar back. So really, it is a loan, and you've got
Right.
to be careful, by the way, of ribis when returning
Right.
something like that because you're not returning the original item, you're returning something in place of it. Um, but is- so on Shabbos, you can still do that. You can go to your neighbor, but you got to use a different lashon. You got to say, "Can you please lend me some sugar?" Not "Can you please loan me some sugar?" Okay, because that reminds the person that this is that it's Shabbos and you shouldn't be making notes of things. And
Right.
so even though the wording is not appropriate for something that's consumed, you don't lend sugar, you don't lend wine, you loan it,
Right.
and then you expect it back. But because you're using the inappropriate language, it reminds the person who's loaning you the wine that they shouldn't make a note about it.
So that would say if you can't say, well, you can't say maybe, can I borrow some sugar?
Okay, so in English, it's funny. There's no um you use the same thing. But can I borrow your car? Can I borrow some money?
Right. Right.
And colloquially, we say I'll lend you some money as well because that's just colloquial. But the correct term is to loan rather than to lend. Um, and I don't know. I don't think there's a reciprocal term in English for loan. That's not the
Um,
same. That's not borrow versus something or other. In both
right.
cases, it's interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a correct English term for it. But at
Hmm.
any rate, that's
Okay. All right.
so. בלבד שלא יאמר לו הלוויני. וכן האישה מחברת הכיכרות, and the same thing goes for if the woman wants to go and borrow some bread from a neighbor. Again, you're not going to return the same bread. It's not just there for ornamental purposes. You're going to eat it and then you're going to give back some other loaves later. Ve'im eino mamino. Now, what happens if the neighbor doesn't trust his neighbor and says, "Listen, I've seen you before. You've borrowed stuff from me and not returned it." Uh, so how does he get security? Look, I'm happy to give you a bottle of wine, but give me some security. Meniach taliso etzlo. So you can give him a cloak. You can give him some sort of garment that he can keep as a pledge. Ve'oseh emo cheshbon la'achar Shabbos, and after Shabbos, then they'll work it out. So leaving a pledge is acceptable on Shabbos if you don't trust the person who's borrowing from you.
Yeah.
Okay, Erev Pesach. So same thing happens. Let's say you got Erev Pesach b'Yerushalayim shechal lios b'Shabbos. Okay, the Korban Pesach happens on Shabbos. It's overrides Shabbos. So a guy gets to Yerushalayim and realizes, and we've got a kvutza over there, and something goes wrong. Let's say they find that there's a mum in their lamb. And
Right.
oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? We need to get another lamb before, and it's Shabbos already. So what do? So you go to the merchant and say, listen, we need a lamb. And he says, hi, I don't just give my lamb to everyone. I don't know where you are. You came from like, somewhere in Tel Aviv, and I have no idea how I'll ever get my money back from you. So what can you do? Meniach taliso etzlo v'nosin lo not talis pischo. So he leaves a pledge once again. So after Yom Tov goes out, then he goes back and pays for the lamb and gets back his pledge.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Mone Adam is orcha ve'es parpras al mipiv. Okay. So when a person has guests over Shabbos and he's got a bit of an open house and he wants to seat everyone and he wants to make sure that all the people who are invited are in the right places. So he's allowed to memorize all the people who are supposed to be coming and place them around the table. Aval lo min hakasab, but he's not allowed to have a list of people who are coming and going in case he starts writing. That's what our Mishnah tells us. I'm not sure if this is actually la halacha. Or
Um,
it doesn't say anything about whether this part is la halacha. I know that the other parts in this Mishnah. That's why I'm being careful because I remember when preparing that there's some parts of this Mishnah that are not la halacha. Okay, Mephis im banav im bnei beiso ala shulchan. He's allowed to do a lottery with his children and other household members uh,
mhm.
about around the table. Um, so ובלבד שלא יסכוון לעשות מנה גדולה כנגד קטנה משום קוביה. But you're not allowed to have an intention to make big portions and small portions depending on the lottery,
Right.
because of kubia, because of it's like gambling, okay, and this is which is like mekach or memka b'Shabbos. It's like doing trade on Shabbos.
Uh-huh.
What the commentary points out over here, and it's explained in the Gemara, is that our Mishnah is written with a lacuna, meaning it is missing information, and you should actually read the Mishnah differently. You should say because the halacha is actually that you are allowed to do lotteries with your family members because your family members are assumed not to be makbid on each other.
Right.
Okay, he got first portion this time, he got that portion this time. Whatever, it's all family and we don't care. But when you've got guests who are not necessarily that friendly with each other, they're going to get jealous, they're going to get upset and demand their rights and things like that. So what does the Mishnah actually say? Bilvad shelo yiskavin lasos mana gedola keneged katana. Oh, wait, sorry, wait, where is it? I'm just looking for the text in the of how the oh there we go. So Mayfis im banav im bnei beiso else you may do lotteries with your family on
Mhm.
at the table on Shabbos. Aval loy macherim, but not with others. And that's the important thing that's missing over here. And that's so we have to reinterpret our Mishnah according to the bit that's left out over here.
Didn't Yosef Atzadik give Benjamin more than the rest of his brothers?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was an exception. It's a different, of course, it's a totally different circumstance, and
Right.
and with good reason why he did it that way. But it's nothing to do with Shabbos.
Right.
Okay. Matilin chalashim al hakodshim b'yom tov. Now, when it comes to kohanim serving in the temple on Yom Tov, they're allowed to do hagralot on who does what service. That's what they did all the time in the temple. They do hagralot. We also don't have any, the gezeres derabanan we don't actually make in the temple because you're already in the temple and people are already careful. So there's no real need for gezeres like that about not to do hagralot, but avalol al hamanot, not regarding the portions that the kohanim actually get to eat. So doing the service is fine to do hagralot. Who gets to take up the leg? Who gets to take up the head? Those things are fine to do the portion to do it with. But when it comes to the portions that the kohanim are going to eat, they should not do hagralot because that's now no longer really part of the service. That's now part of the kohanim just going and eating.
Okay.
It's just still part of the avoda, but It's not the same.
Right.
Okay. Lo iskor adam po'alav b'Shabbos. A person must not hire workers on Shabbos. Um, right, because of course that's that you're doing business on Shabbos to tell the workers, come, we're gonna do some work after Shabbos. But lo yamar adam lechaver liskor lo po'alim, and he cannot tell his friend to hire him workers. Um, why is this added? What's this? Why is this different from the previous one? So the commentary says there's an extra diuk over here that a person should not say on Shabbos to his friend, Hanire shetamod imi la'erev. You want to come with me this evening? Hinting to him that we're going to go and
Right.
hire workers. Because even though both of them know that they're going to the reason why they're going to this particular place towards the end of Shabbos is because that's where they're going to find workers after Shabbos. Okay. Well, here her mutter. So what you can do. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. What you cannot do is say, "Come, let's go and hire work. We'll come with me and we'll hire some workers tonight." But what you can do to your friend is just hint and just say, "Hey, let's go for a walk to such and such a place this evening." And both of them know what they're doing, but
Right.
but you're allowed to go for a walk on Shabbos. So
Right.
that's actually allowed as long as you don't actually talk about the fact that you're going to be doing
Hiring. Right.
the hiring afterwards. Yeah. Ein machshichin al hatachum niskor poalim or lahavi peros. But if a person is not allowed to go to the Tchum Shabbos, to the edge of the Tchum Shabbos, um, right, which is outside the city. It's 2,000 hours outside the city. In order to get out as quickly as possible once Shabbos is out, in order to hire workers or to bring produce from the fields. Um, okay, because anything that's asked to do on Shabbos, you're not allowed to uh, go to the edge of the Tchum to do before Shabbos is out. Um, so but what he is allowed to do is maybe Paris biyado. So what he can do is go to the edge of go to the tchum in order to watch over the produce, because if he's worried that they're going to be thieves coming and stealing his produce, he's allowed on Shabbos to go and stand there. That's mutar to do. He's not doing any malacha. He's just going and looking after his produce. And now Shabbos is out. Okay, now I can bring the produce back. Okay, so Klal Amar Abashal. So Abashal says, here's your general rule: Kol shani zakai b'miraso rashani lahachshich alav. If I'm allowed to talk about doing it on Shabbos, then I'm also allowed to go to the edge of the tchum in order to do it on Shabbos. So if I can say, will you go and guard my produce for me? That's okay. Then he's allowed to go up to the tchum in order to do it himself. And thus is the halacha. Okay, it's
Good.
Doris.
Yud Zayin Chet.
Yeah,
All utensils covers which have. Wait, did you start a recording? By the way, I didn't hear the
I did.
thing go out of recording.
Yes.
You might. Yeah. Okay. Yud Zayin Chet. A utensil cover which have handles may be taken on Shabbos. Said Rabbi Yossi, when it is said regarding cover of a hole in the ground, but regarding covering of utensils, in either case we may take them on Shabbos. We may clear away even 4 or 5 baskets of straw or of produce to make room for guests or to avoid cantonment of study, but not a storehouse. We may clear away truma, that is tahar, the mai from first tithe, whose truma has been separated from it, second tithe and consecrated property that have been redeemed, and dry lupin, because it is a food for the poor. But we may not clear away untithed produce, nor first tithe whose truma has not been separated from it, nor second tithe, nor consecrated property that have not been redeemed, nor kochazia, nor mustard. Reb Shimon ben Gamil permits kokasia since it is food for ravens. Bundles of straw, bundles of twigs, and bundles of green branches, if we prepare them for an animal feed, we may handle them, and if not, we may not handle them. We may invert a basket in front of chicks so that they may use it to climb up and down. A hen that has run away, we may push her until she enters, and we may make calves and foals walk in a public domain. A woman may make her child walk, said Rabbi Yehuda, when? At the time, he raises one foot and puts down the other, but if he drags his feet, it's prohibited. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
hey.
Okay. One who extinguishes a lamp because he fears idolaters, because of bandits, because of melancholy, or because a sick person may fall asleep, he is exempt. But if he does so to spare the lamp, to spare the oil, to spare the wick, he is liable. Rabbi Yossi exempts in all these cases except that of the wick because he makes it into charcoal. For three transgressions, women die during their childbirth because they are not careful regarding the laws of Nida, Kala, and kindling the Sabbath light. A man must say three things in his home on the eve of Shabbos, just before dark. Have you tithed? Have you prepared the Erev and kindled the Sabbath light? If there is doubt whether it is dark or it is not dark, we may not tithe definitely untithed produce, nor may we immerse vessels, nor may we kindle lights, but we may tithe the mai and make an Erev and insulate hot food. Okay. And
Vamos.
okay. Jumos Zion Gimel. If one serves food to his sons who are minors or to his slaves, whether adults or minors, or eats truma from outside of Eretz Israel, or eats less than an ounce bulk of truma, he repays its value, but does not pay the fifth. And that which is given in payment is chulin. If the priest wishes to forego, he can forego. This is the general principle. Whenever the value plus the fifth is repaid, the payment is truma. If the priest wishes to forego, he may not do so. And whenever the value is repaid but not the fifth, the repayment is chulin. If the priest wishes to forego, he can forego. If there were two baskets, one of truma and one of chulin, and a saw of truma fell into one of them, it is not known into which it fell, I presume that it fell into one of truma. If it is not known which is of truma and which is of chulin, and he ate one of them, he is exempt. And the other one he treats as truma and is liable to challah. So says Reb Meir. Reb Yossi exempts if another person ate the other one, he is exempt. If one ate both, he repays the value of the smaller of the two.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Mikvos.
close. Okay. Olive base. If one drew from it with a tame vessel and then a tahor person drank from it, he becomes tame. If one drew it from it with a tame vessel and one drew it with a tahor vessel, he becomes tame. If one drew from it with a tame vessel and then a loaf of truma fell into it, if he rinsed it, it becomes tame, and if he did not rinse it, it remains tahor. If tame water fell into it and then a tahor person drank from it, he becomes tame. If tame water fell into it and then one drew from it into a tahor vessel, it becomes tame. If tame water fell into it and then a loaf of truma fell into it, if he rinsed it, it becomes tame. If he did not rinse it, it remains tahor. Reb Shimon says whether he rinsed it or did not rinse it, it becomes tame. If a corpse fell into it or a tame person walked through it and then a tahor person drank from it, it remains tahor. He remains tahor. But in water in water holes, water in cisterns, and water in dishes, water in caves, water in seeps that have ceased seeping, and mikvos that do not came forth, Isora, are all alike. During the rainy season, they are all deemed tahor. And when the rain ceased, those near to a town or Rome are deemed tame, but those who are distant are deemed tahor until such a time that there are many walkers. Okay. And Menachos. Okay. You give hey. If he said, I take upon myself to bring wine, he may not bring less than 3 lubim. Oil, he may not bring less than a log. Rebbe says 3 lubim. I specify, but I do not know what I specified. He must bring like the amount brought on the day with the greatest requirement. If one said, I take upon myself to bring an ola, and he brings a lamb, Reb Eliezer ben Azariah, he says either a pigeon or a young dove. I specify from cattle, but I don't know what I specified. He must bring a bull and a calf. From animals, but I do not know what I specified. He must bring a bull and a calf, a ram, a kid, and a lamb. I specify, but I do not know what I specified. He adds them to the pigeon. He adds a pigeon and a young dove. I take upon myself to bring a Torah offering or shlomin offering, and he brings a lamb. I specified from cattle, but I do not know what I specified. He must bring a bull and a cow, and a male calf, and a female calf. From animals, but I don't know what I specified. He must bring a bull and a cow, a male calf and a female calf, a ram and a ewe, a male kid and a female kid, a male goat and a female goat, male lamb and a female lamb. Okay.
I think we said that if I got this right, I think it was Rebbe who holds that a gadol and a katan are not exchangeable. That if you said a katan, you cannot bring a gadol, which is why we've got the baby animals separate from the that you have to bring both a baby animal and an adult animal. I think, but I don't think the halacha is like him there. Okay, Nazir. We'll see that tomorrow anyway.
Okay, Nazir. Okay, Dal Gimel. A woman who vowed to be a Nazirah and drank wine or rendered herself tummy from the dead, she receives 40 lashes. If her husband revoked her Naziris, but she did not know that her husband had revoked her Naziris, and she drank wine or rendered herself tummy from the dead, she does not receive 40 lashes. But Yehuda says even if she does not receive 40 lashes, she receives lashes for rebelliousness. A woman who vowed to be a Nazirah and set aside her animal, and then her husband broke to Naziris, if her animal was his, it may not go out and may pass through with the flock. If her animal was hers and the sin offering dies, the burnt offering is offered as a burnt offering, and the peace offering is offered as a peace offering, but it is eaten for one day and does not require bread. If she had unspecified funds, they go for voluntary offerings. Specified funding monies go for sin offering. I'm sorry. The money goes for the sin offering, goes to the Dead Sea, and one may not benefit from it. But the rules governing the misuse of sacred items did not apply to him. With the money for the burnt offering, they bring a burnt offering, and the rules governing the misuse of sacred items apply. With the money for the peace offering, they bring a peace offering, but it's eaten for one day and does not require bread. If one of the bloods was thrown on her behalf, we cannot revoke. Rabbi Akiva says even if one of all the animals was slaughtered on her behalf, we cannot revoke. In what context are these said? Concerning the head shaving in Tahara, but in the case of head shaving for Tuma, he may revoke, since he may say, I do not want an impoverished woman. And Rebbe says, even concerning the head shaving in Tahara, he may revoke, since he may say, I do not want a shorn woman. Okay, good.
Be done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Done. Terrific,
Thanks very
terrific. I will
much.
see you
Yeah.
at the tomorrow morning. Hopefully it won't
That's
be
it,
sunny.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.